Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Visibility Vortex. Is your practice prepared for the AI Search Revolution webinar? My name is Jenna Minetti. I'm the marketing director at the Center for Spine and Orthopedics, located just outside of Denver, Colorado. I'm really honored to narrate this panel today in collaboration with Raider 8. Raider 8 is the leader in healthcare reputation management. They automatically cultivate patient reviews so that you can outshine your competition and attract more patients online. Today, we are cutting through the noise on our AI-powered search. So think about Google AI overviews, ChatGPT, and beyond, and how your visibility online and your trust network help to grow and influence patient decisions. By the end of today's seminar, you'll have a much clearer picture of what's constantly changing in the digital marketing world and practical ways to help your providers be findable, credible, and chosen in our new search landscape. Just some quick housekeeping before we fully jump in. This session is being recorded, so we will share the replay and the resources afterwards as well. Please feel free to use the question and answer panel for questions, and we will save those for the end of our discussion. And the chat will be open the entire time. So go ahead, and if you guys want to kick it off, please start letting us know where you're joining from, what city you're in, and what practice you work at. And as we wait on people to continue to trickle in, we're going to go ahead and meet all of our panelists. Panelists, I'll have each of you share your name and your role. And Evan, would you please kick us off?
Hey, my name is Evan Steele. I'm founder and CEO of Raider 8. I started the company in 2015, so we're adolescent. We're 10 years old, which is actually very old for a software company. And I've been pretty much eating, drinking, and sleeping online reviews, online reputation now for a good part of those 10 years. So hopefully I can, along with the other panelists from our clients, could shed some light on what's going on in the world of AI and search and how things are changing and how to keep up with those changes.
I'm Yvonne Powers. I'm the practice administrator at Austin Orthopedic Institute. I've been here for 3 years, but I've been in orthopedics for about 15 to 20, aging myself a little bit. I love tech. I'm really excited about having this conversation, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion with everyone.
My name is John Bulmer. I'm Public Information Officer for Capital Cardiology Associates in Albany, New York. We were an early adopter of AI, and we continue to use it and innovate with it and test the boundaries of what we can actually do with it, both on the patient-facing side and on the marketing side. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, Jenna's going to be moderating today. But I thought, John, we had spoken before, I hope you could impart some of those really cool things you're doing, nothing to do with marketing or Raider 8 or online reputation, but all the AI agents and things that you're doing in-house to help your team become more productive. We don't have a slideshow, but I have one slide just to show everybody, just to kind of level set of like where we are with reviews and AI. So let me just run through it real quick. Again, just one slide. We call this the visibility vortex, right? So we have practices, office locations, and doctors, and patients are giving tons of feedback all the time, every day, through these ratings platforms. So Raider 8 has something called Rave, which is Raider 8 Visibility Engine. And what that does is it takes all the patient feedback and publishes it not only to the doctor's website, but to Google Maps. Raider 8 has our own listings, Health Grades, Vitals, WebMD, Facebook, Glassdoor, right? Just publishing these patient feedback elements online. So they're available to the engines, right? So we have the AI engines, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Copilot, Claude. All these engines are looking at all the website and all the different review sites and gathering patient information and also gathering information about doctors and the practice. And then finally, you have the patients that are searching using these engines. And then these engines are taking all the patient data, all the patient feedback that's been that they've scraped from all these sites, and summarizing it in a nice little package right on the iPhone of the patient, right? So if the patient says, is Dr. Lustig a good doctor, or is this practice a good practice, or who should I use for a certain type of surgery or procedure in this area? This whole process ensures that this patient is served up exactly what you want that patient to see. And that's, you know, positive sentiments and lots of information about your practice, your brand, your doctors, and your office locations. That's what we're up against today. It used to be the old search was easy, right? You have your website, you try to feed it with SEO kind of content, and then you get organic search, you get placed high, medium, or low, depending on how good a job you're doing. Now it's completely different as AI has entered the picture.
All right, well, let's start some of the panel discussion. Let's kick it off with where you guys are with AI today. How much is AI a part of your marketing or patient acquisition strategy right now?
Well, for us, I know that we were, as Evan said earlier, we were really just hoping that the SEO optimization would be the only thing we needed to focus on, and found out very quickly that that wasn't the case. We're in a highly competitive market here. And so we reached out to Raider 8 actually to help in increasing our visibility, and learned as we did that, that having the reviews absolutely helped with the ChatGPT. We've had several patients who ask, who's a doctor in Austin that does knees, and they do this on ChatGPT. And because of the reviews and the things that we have on our website, we're coming up and those searches, and that's been very good for us. We also use it now for our patients to call, so that we can have a higher touch with our patients in practice, where they can call in and leave a message and it automatically transcribes it. So we're using AI a lot in our environment to ensure that we can maximize our patient care, while at the same time not spending a whole lot of time on that end of it, because AI is doing a lot of that work for us.
You bring up an interesting point, how patients say, who's the best doctor in my area for knee replacement or hip replacement. It used to be Google was a search engine. It was searching for websites that had that match keywords, and then that's all you got. Now patients are expecting, and I expect when I type in a question in Google, an answer. I want an answer. So Google used to be a search engine. It really is today, the way it's turning out. It's an answer engine. People aren't looking for search results. They're looking for answers to get right to the point. They don't want to click on links and read articles. They want Google or ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or Claude or any of the other engines to provide answers. So that's just a different way of thinking about search. We call that GEO, generative engine optimization, instead of SEO. So what can you do to make those answers robust for the patients?
So I find that Google is still very much relevant. When people talk about AI, they say that the Google search is going by the wayside. I look at it this way. I look at Google as the door to the house, and then AI is going to show me where to go once I'm in the house. So we tend to curate our content across multiple AI platforms. I audit it. I talk to AI. I make sure that it is representing our practice and our doctors correctly. And if for some reason it hallucinates or tells me a wrong answer, I use the platforms against each other to try to find out where that content is. So I kind of make them be accountable to each other, which is found to be the best way to use AI, not to rely on one specific source. The other thing is that Raider 8 and its review platform directly feeds AI, the chats, it feeds AI new reviews on a consistent basis. So that's going to be some of the things that it pulls. So it gives the patient a much more customized and a much more complete view of our doctors and our services. So while it's harder than it was with Google, I feel like it's giving people more information so they can come in, and I'm finding the people are coming in that are more educated and they're more sophisticated in what they know. So it's actually helping us to be able to acquire patients.
Really great insights. What is one change you have already noticed in how patients are finding your practice?
I can tell you that Google used to be a verb. So people would say Google it. Now I'm hearing people say Chat GPT it. So people are coming in with a higher degree of information about our practice. And I think it's important to realize for people on the call that your web page is no longer the first point of contact for a potential patient or a customer. It might be the second or third. It might be referred to by that AI. So while your web page is just as important as ever, and your Google business reviews are just as important as ever, that AI is going to feed into all of that, and it can pull from anything, and you don't know where. So it's important to make sure that that informational fingerprint is correct across multiple sources, because you really can't control what it's going to parse out to the person doing the query.
We use a couple of things. We use YouTube and Instagram videos. We find that I will agree with John that patients are definitely more educated. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're cross-checking the information that's out there on your practice. We were actually shocked the first time we had a patient indicate they had found us through ChatGPT. It hadn't really occurred to us, and that was a year ago. And so they're definitely keeping up with the IT faster than we are, and we're trying to make sure that we keep up with them and what they're wanting.
Right. So I just did research. I asked ChatGPT, I Google Gemini, how many Gemini searches and via ChatGPT searches per day. So again, I didn't want an article. I got my nice answer. My answer engine provided the answer. But ChatGPT has upwards of 3 billion questions are asked a day. So I find that staggering.
I think it's up to 30% of all searches now. So as we continue, next year it's going to be even different. And we're going to eventually get to the point where the information it's giving is not just reactive, it's going to be predictive. So if a patient's asking something, it's going to now ask the patient more questions and to get them a much more consistent and thorough answer. So we are actually transitioning, I believe, into the more predictive stage of AI.
And everybody go to ChatGPT now or after this call and just type in, let's say you have a Dr. Mary Smith. Say, is Dr. Mary Smith a good doctor? Or what are some of the patient feedback and reviews for Dr. Mary Smith? Or is, in your case, Yvonne, is Austin Orthopedic Institute a good practice? Or are there any reviews for Austin Orthopedic Institute? See what ChatGPT says. If you like it, great. If you think it could be better, then something you might want to work on. But yeah, I'd encourage everybody to do that and see what happens.
And a little thing that I do is if something is wrong, I ask it where it got it from, so I can actually go out and address that. And there's some things that you can't change. There's information out there, an old phone number, something that it's impossible to go out and change other people's content, but you can address it and you can try to counteract it in your own. But you can use that AI tool to actually help you correct your informational footprint.
Yeah, we're seeing more educated patients as well. We're world renowned for our spine care, which can be very complex for, just a general person. And our spine surgeons have told me that they have patients that are using AI to basically take the medical terminology of the surgical procedures and anatomy and put into layman terms so that they can talk to our doctors, which is also really interesting, kind of gone from the WebMD diagnose yourself to using AI to help you understand it. So I thought that was pretty unique as well, being an advocate for themselves as a patient. So
we also use AI to optimize our content on our webpage. So AI likes bulleted lists and numbered lists and things high in the content on the tags on the upper part of the page because it wants to read it that way. So I will actually put content of a web page in, and I'll ask ChatGPT how I can make it better, how I can make it more visible, how I can inject more keywords to that to make it more relevant to people looking for that. So, some people just use AI to write emails and to correct grammar, but its analytical and its data analytical skills are second to none. And you could actually take things like you're getting from a review platform and put a bunch of reviews in there and ask it to identify trends for you. So in real time, you can identify those trends. So for the first time, we're getting real-time intelligence on what's happening in our practices that we can act on in a pretty quick manner.
Yeah, so I find that on quantitative tasks, ChatGPT does a better job than Google's Gemini. I also find that you got to be careful. We have PHI, patient names, or just personal analytics that you might upload. If you use a public account, if you're not logged in and you don't use one of the paid accounts, then ChatGPT can use your data to train their models, and you don't want them to do that. So if you're dealing with sensitive things, I would recommend signing up and paying, getting the paid plans, and ensuring that they don't use your data for, then it's more secure that way. But I agree, ChatGPT, especially the new version 5, when you get a login, you get the higher version, is fantastic.
Well, it allows for us to focus on the human part of what we do, right? We let ChatGPT kind of handle that part of it, and we can actually focus on our patients. So it can be a good thing.
So Yvonne, you mentioned it in passing how you're transcribing phone calls. Can you just you explained it to me when we were talking earlier, but I found it fascinating, the workflow of how you're using AI to make, give the patient a better experience and make it easier on your staff. Can you give an example?
Sure, we have patients that call in for clinical questions that are pretty, they don't require a lot of high level thinking. They're just, before my schedulers were taking those calls and actually transcribing them and putting them as patient cases into our system. And so we implemented an AI system that basically takes that message, transcribes it, puts it directly as a case into the system. We're able to respond faster, and my schedulers actually can focus on scheduling patients for their appointments. And it's been a tremendous help for us when we implemented that.
I'm sure folks would love to know the name of that product.
It's Call My Doc.
Call My Doc. Okay, interesting. A lot of people are scribbling notes right now. That's really cool.
Included.
It's probably the easiest, aside from Raider 8, one of the easiest implementations I've ever had.
That's great.
Well, similar to the question Evan just asked, we're a little more focused on visibility now in this section. So does AI in search affect how you guys are running, managing, or marketing your practice? And obviously, Yvonne kind of answered a little bit of that already, but.
John, you want to start?
Well, like I said, I use it for optimized content, so I will have it suggest to me, and I think this is a good point to kind of outline the fact that the quality of your prompts and what you're asking it to do is going to be everything. So I ask it to pretend it's a prompt engineer, and it helps me to generate prompts, which can be up to a page long, but I want to get specific output from that, so you have to make it specific input. So I will run all of our content through AI, and I never upload patient information, even on the paid site. But our public-facing information, our content, I'll run it through there, and I'll have it continually give me suggestions on how I can make it better, and I'll go deploy it to our webpage. And I find that that's really it's an effective way to have AI help you curate your content. Then I will ask it questions using the voice module, and we'll have conversations every once in a while, and I'll have it explain to me what our practice is, where it practices, what it serves, and I'll talk about specific doctors and see what it says about that. And if it has something that I don't like, or it's a little bit suspect, I will ask it where it came from, and I'll go and try to address that. But the content part of it is amazing. We use that. I use it every day, especially for optimized stuff.
And John, I'm with you. Whenever I'm asking something complex and it just doesn't listen, doesn't get the prompt, didn't get what I wanted, I'll say I'll prompt, I'll say, that's great, you did, but it didn't do this and this. Can you rewrite the prompt for me to ensure that you get it right the next time? And then the AI, Gemini or ChatGPT, they'll rewrite the prompt and the way they think it should be written, and then I use that, and it usually works. So you could actually have them write, almost like write code for you, write your own prompts.
Yeah, another thing is that I use ChatGPT so much I have to purge memory from it. So if you use it up to a point, it's going to say it can no longer remember things. You have to go back in and selectively delete things it remembers. So I tend to create master information packets for what I'm doing. So I save my prompts in Google Docs, and I will save. I will ask AI to create a packet that I can feed it back to it, and I'll say, create me a packet that I can give back to you so we can duplicate exactly what we're doing now and include the prompt. So I will go and I will load that in before I do the work. So that allows me to have some consistency across, at least with ChatGPT or Gemini. Like, I can go in and do that, and I know I'm going to get sort of what we were working on. It may not be completely similar because it does pull from different sources, but it's the easiest way I've found to be able to duplicate multiple projects over time.
I use it for two things, probably more than two, but as we've been talking about this, I've thought about how important it is to have a really good foundation when you're establishing your electronic image of your practice, because there's so many sources that it pulls from, and having the reviews load on our website and load on Google, and then responding to those reviews allows for ChatGPT and other systems to pull from that information to give patients answers to their questions. And so we use it for that, but I also use it for my employees. And so when we get the reviews, they're often about how good our staff is with our patients and how good of a job they've done. And I send that information to the team all the time, just as a high five. You're doing a great job. This is so awesome. Because it's so important for your patients to have a good experience so that then they go out and they talk about it on all the different venues, because there's so many venues, and that's what you're trying to navigate, is how many places people can get information. And so having a solid foundation, I think Rate helps provide that by ensuring that we're getting the reviews, allowing for us to use AI to respond to those reviews, so it makes us faster and better. And so it's good. It's hard because there are so many places where that information can be.
I think it's important to mention the widgets that I rely heavily on. So Rate, every time a new provider starts, we get a widget with a specific identification code, and I embed that into the provider's bio on our webpage. So as reviews come in, the reviews populate on the webpage. So when AI is crawling those pages, you will often see the Rate reviews at the top of the AI summary, whether in Google or wherever. So that is actually giving AI new information every day that's relevant. So we're building authenticity across multiple platforms. And if you go back, you can, the savvy user can go back and see those. So you now look like a platform that has many good reviews, many current reviews, and then the information is accurate. So it actually helps in patient acquisition quite a bit.
Okay. In your opinion, what's the biggest risk for practices who ignore AI-driven search data right now?
Simply to be invisible. So if you ignore this, it's going to roll over you. There's no ignoring it. So if you don't take the informational fingerprint, or you don't optimize your content, or at least talk to AI about how it perceives you, it's going to be detrimental in the end, especially if your competitors are using it. So I would say start now. Start small if you have to, but start now and start thinking about it.
Piggyback on a word you used, John. I liked it, authenticity. I think it creates an authentic image. If you don't do it, you will be invisible fast because everyone is utilizing it in one way. And if you're not, even ChatGPT is pulling that information that may not be accurate, as John mentioned, and that's just as dangerous and detrimental to your practice as if you don't do anything.
I think this falls into the category, we're talking about GEO, right? SEO being search engine optimization, GEO being, it's a weird term, generative engine optimization, which is basically how do you optimize your website and your reviews and everything else to look good with AI search overview results. So just like a practice, 30 years ago, we all started hearing about SEO and keywords and tagging and content on sites and keeping content fresh. We do, everybody here does all of that just as part of their normal website maintenance. But there's something new now. It's called GEO, right? So that just becomes a part of your, marketing motion. Like you did SEO, and now we got to do GEO. We just got to be able to light up, instead of lighting up the search engines, you want to light up the LLMs and light up the AI engines with the right content, the right words. So I think maybe not today, but 3, 4, 5 years from now, it's just going to be part of everyone's vernacular. Everyone's going to be doing GEO and SEO.
That also raises an interesting question. I can almost guarantee you someone watching this today is a small practice who may not have access to the web content or a content moderation system. So to keep that web page up. A lot of people have put web pages and they kind of sit out there and they think, okay, you know, our social media is going to be the current information. Maybe the web page has to be accurate, but you're not updating it every day. That's not the correct way to go, because, you know, it can be pulled from that. So, you know, if I can advocate for anything, is keep your web page up to date, keep it current, and have AI help you develop that content, because that's ultimately going to help you in the end.
We're moving on to steps and strategies for AI. What's one thing you've done or are planning to do to make sure your practice stays visible in AI search results?
I mean, rater rate's a huge part of that. So that, if I'd say one of the most important things is the reviews. So the reviews are feeding the AIs, and they're giving us the content that we need. So every day I look at the reviews, and every day I can see that our prominence is rising, and our accuracy is almost guaranteed with ChatGPT and Gemini. So that's one thing that we rely heavily on, is our reviews and our public facing comments.
Same, we use Rater 8. Something I didn't mention before that made it even easier, because I'm an efficiency freak, is Rater 8 integrates with our practice management system and our schedules. And so I'm not having to upload a file every day to remember to send patients reviews. It's all automatic. And so all we really have to do is kind of look at those reviews, make sure that we're doing what we say we're going to be doing. And that's a huge win for us. The other thing we're trying to do is do more videos, because we found that our patients really enjoy having videos about the services that we render. We add those to our website as well as on YouTube and Instagram, and it's a way to stay connected on the web for patients.
If you had to focus on one digital channel this year to help with visibility, which would it be and why?
Google business profiles are still the backbone of everything we do. That's where the reviews are going, and I think that I could be wrong on this. They're weighted pretty heavily, I think, in search returns, especially if it's pulling from Google. So I take a lot of time to make sure they're right, make sure there's no orphaned ones out there. Our Rater 8 rep is awesome with helping us with that, because they'll do, every time we meet every 3 months, they'll go and they'll say, we're seeing this might be an orphaned review or an orphaned profile, so I'll go out and address that. So I try to keep those reviews current. You know, being verified with Google business profiles has been challenging, especially with anybody with a complex phone system. They stopped doing postcard verification, and the videos never work. So if you can't get that, certification call, then it's really tough. And it's kind of sad, because the Google business profiles are super important. So if we get new providers, it's always a challenge to have those profiles verified. But I still rely heavily on those, and I still make sure they're accurate.
We've had the same issues as John when we've added a new provider. We did do a video and we were successful, but it was a very tedious process because we were pulling them from another group. And so if you're going to place emphasis on something, I would say definitely make sure your Google profile is up to date and clean. And if it's not, start on that first. And then the reviews from Rater 8 going to that, it does mean something to patients. They really do love that we have, I don't even know what we have now on some of the docs, 400, not, 500 reviews. And obviously the more you have, the better it is for that one negative review that comes in, because then your pool is really big and it doesn't feel as big as if you had 2 reviews.
And for traditional search results, a tremendous amount of results go through that local search box on Google. And that's going to pull directly from the Google profile. So while people are doing traditional searches less and less, to have those profiles, to have them resolve on maps, to make sure they're correct, and to make sure there's either pictures or logos or updated photos and hours of business and all of it, it's more important than ever, even though that seems counterintuitive because we're relying more on AI.
Well, with AI being a new trend, how do you suggest we familiarize our doctors and CEOs in our practices to understand and value the need to invest in these areas that help build with those AI trends?
So we're pretty lucky at Capital Cardiology. Our leadership team embraced AI quickly. We're using AI in different patient-facing parts of our practice. We use ambient AI to do transcription, and we use Clearly, which is a AI platform that analyzes CT scans. So, they've seen that for a beginning that it's from the beginning that it's a force multiplier. It helps us be more efficient and to do more during the day. I would say that if someone doesn't understand it, it's better to show them and not tell them. So you can show them, and you can even have ChatGPT generate these graphics if you don't know what to do, but you can have them show very different outcomes for if you ignore it, and it will map it all out for you. So it's really important, I think, to be visual for people who don't understand it, because it is super nebulous, and without a solid understanding of it, it's easy to be dismissed.
I think it can be overwhelming because of how much information is out there. And so I agree with John. I think if you can show them, even just do a ChatGPT like Evan, said initially, like, what is, is Dr. Goldberg a good doctor? And do that in front of the doctor. And then they can see what's coming up. And I think that helps them recognize how big a deal this is now and how it's everywhere. And it's such a simple thing to do. If you haven't done that, I would highly recommend that you do that with your providers. It's very eye-opening in a good way, because it's not, if it's not great, then it's an opportunity for you to make some changes. And if it's great, that's awesome. You can build on that. So
Sure.
Well, let's fast forward a year. What do you guys think AI search will look like a year from now, and how will it affect our patients and how they choose providers?
I think AI will be the primary search layer of what people are getting. So Google will still be there, but as the voice modules and everything gets integrated into our tech, it's going to be easier and easier just to ask a question instead of typing things, especially for older people or people who can't see a little screen or don't want to deal with their phone. It's way easier just to ask your AI or your smart speaker or whatever information. So I see everything trending towards that. Maybe even spoken content, but I think that AI will be the primary driver for all searches coming up in the next few years.
I think as it gets more information, it's designed to get more sophisticated. It will get better and better at providing the information that patients are asking for. And so it's going to be a big part of the whole industry, in every industry, honestly. People, I mean, my docs ChatGPT, they love ChatGPT. And it's funny because now I get emails, which I can tell exactly by the way it's flowed, is that they did a ChatGPT thing and they're sending it to me for me to research and get more information on it. And so I think everyone will be using it. It's getting easier and easier for people to use, which is by design. And so it's coming whether you want it to or not.
Mhm.
The other thing to mention is some may find it creepy, but as you talk to your AI, it learns about you. So it can actually give you better results because it knows some of your background as opposed to just putting a prompt into a search box. So you can actually go and review what it knows about you and what it remembers, and it will say, at this date you asked me to remember this. And when you're asking it for queries, it's going back and reviewing its memory. So it's not like you're starting from step one. So I feel as it gets more advanced, it's going to be able to give more tailored information. It is now, but I think it's going to be even more granular, and it could be even predictive.
We're a little bit separate than you guys, where we're kind of just getting on the trend for some of these things. So, but it's been so awesome learning from you guys and how much further ahead you are on all this, so that I kind of know and trust the path ahead as well. So, I'm excited for the upcoming meetings with my shareholders. So as we wrap up today, what advice would you give a practice that's just starting to think about AI, kind of like mine, and maybe feels a little bit behind?
Ask AI. Seriously, write a prompt. Say, I am a practice. I have not used AI. Give me some basic steps that I can take and let it teach you how to do things. I mean, there's a ton of resources on YouTube and stuff, but AI will, help you along in the whole process.
I think my advice would be don't be afraid of it. And as John, I think, alluded to early on, though, you always want to check your source, right? So there's lots of ways to check that, but embrace it because it actually has some great things to give us and make us better. But don't be afraid.
That's a great point. I make it show its work all the time. I've had it have some pretty spectacular hallucinations that I have no idea where it got the information from. I asked it numerous times if it was correct. And then on the fourth or fifth ask, it would say, I can find no information for this. So it's important to remember that that information isn't vetted and it may not be correct. So that's why I used multiple platforms. I find Google, it's Google Gemini's deep research module, will probably be the best for fact checking ChatGPT, but I also ask ChatGPT to show its work, or if it changes something, I ask it for a list of what it's done, because while it's great, I still want to have accountability and I want to make sure that the information I'm putting out is correct.
It's also important to note that it's how you ask the question, right? You can ask a leading question that will change the answer on how ChatGPT answers it. So just it is a great tool. It's a wonderful resource, but as with everything, it's in its infancy, and so it's working to be better too.
And I think it defaults to making you feel good. So it give you answers that may not be true, but it's telling you something. It's like a a sympathetic companion in some ways when you ask questions. It may not be completely accurate. So always double check, triple check that work.
Well, we are leading to the question and answer session of our panel. So if anyone in the audience has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. And we're all here to answer and support with anything you guys might want to have a little more of a deep dive into.
You can put in the chat, or there's a Q&A button at the bottom.
Ah,
Either way.
okay. I don't see anything in either box right now, but if anyone has any, please submit those and we will go over them. Okay, we have a few coming in. So we have one from Kelly. Are you finding that the patients who are self-educating with AI are coming with better info than they used to with WebMD, etc.?
It's a double-edged sword because people feel that AI is correct. So I think a lot of people, and I know in my personal life, are self-diagnosing with AI, and that's a very dangerous thing. And AI will tell you, don't do this. But if you're looking for a quick answer, people are turning to that. So it's definitely something to address. I mean, I think we're going to do some content saying, don't trust AI for health diagnosis.
We get patients who are better suited for our practice. And so we're not getting a bunch of patients calling us for spine care because they've read our videos and they see that we place an emphasis on hands, shoulders, and knees and hips. And so in that regard, yes, we get patients that are better aligned for the services that we render, but we also get patients that come in demanding an injection, a steroid injection that they know they need because they Googled it. And so it is a double-edged sword for sure.
Okay, we have a comment from Louisa. She says, I considered updating the website's appearance, but it is not recommended as it may negatively impact our established SEO.
Hmm.
I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that or.
I'm not sure about that. If you're going to get rid of a bunch of cornerstone content and backlinks within the page, that would definitely affect the SEO. But if the information architecture is still the same and all the tags, the H1, H2, H3 tags that give web crawlers the prominence of what they want, I don't think it would impact SEO a whole bunch, and it would definitely recover if you have a high traffic site. So to have a progressively enhanced site that resizes for the different screen resolutions or the different devices is going to serve you longer in the long run. And it's also important to note that Google will actually downrank sites that don't display properly on mobile devices. So to be compliant and have your design as up to date as possible and technologically compliant, I think is going to serve you better in the end.
Well, also, you don't have to change the structure or your whole site. You could still keep what you have, but you could augment it. Like frequently FAQ pages that are specifically designed and created with the right structure and schema and tags for the LLM, the large language models to scan them. So that helps when a patient asks a question and it's on your website, then it will summarize that. You could add that like an FAQ section. You could add widgets. So like if you work with Ratorade or other vendors, we have testimonial widgets where you could pop testimonials for doctors, for locations, for certain procedures, for the practice as a whole in different areas of your website. These are just little embedded, like you can embed a video, you can embed testimonials, and the LLM engines read that. So when patients ask for feedback, they oftentimes use that in their summaries and their testimonials. So they just sound great. The summaries sound great. So there are things you could do outside of restructuring your website that'll help with the AI engines.
I may even make the argument that the web page has not updated in years and it's just the same content.
Yes.
That's going to affect your SEO. So there's another side to that. So if it's just out there and it hasn't been updated, Google's crawled it a bunch of times and there's been no noticeable changes, then that's going to affect your SEO too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
good point.
that's a great point. And that's the thing with like a testimonial widget. Every time Google crawls, there's new testimonials on it, let's say a doctor's bio page. So that page is now considered fresh, being updated with fresh content, and is scored higher in the algorithms just by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And those Ratorade widgets are the easiest way to do that for your doctor's bios.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a slam dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tom has a question. Any thoughts on Reddit or subreddits as a GEO driver?
While I spend time on Reddit, I've never thought about using it as a viable marketing channel. So no, I haven't at this point.
For fun, Tom, I actually ChatGPT'd that. And it actually said that it is a significantly influenced site to use for GEO. And it had a whole list of everything and the roles that it plays. And it even used John's word of authenticity. And so I have never thought of Reddit until you brought that up. And so I'll do a little digging myself. But just in an initial cursory review, it does say that it is something worth using.
I think if an average user uses Reddit and they mention your site, there's authenticity. I think that placing information on there, there's a chance of it being downvoted. So I think that might, in the long run, affect authenticity if it's downvoted so much. I mean, I like Reddit a lot. I've not placed information for a marketing sense on it, but I would assume that if people are talking about it in your subreddits and they're mentioning your site and giving you backlinks, it's great for that.
Okay, Lauren has a question about Google My Business. We definitely alluded to the troubles with that earlier. She says, do you have any tips for successfully verifying a new business listing in Google My Business? Over the past 2 years, I've had to verify multiple new offices and doctor profiles, but I've run into frequent issues with Google rejecting my video verifications.
Well,
So
Yvonne, you mentioned before you had a problem
Yeah, it
with
was
video verification. It's a real pain. How come you didn't use phone verification? Was it a choice?
because the phone number that we had on, it's kind of what John alluded to, right? So we have a main phone number that we use that goes into a queue. And so unless someone actually answers it initially when they call, Google will
Mhm.
hang up. And so we have an automated attendant, and so it wouldn't take it. So we
Right.
had to do the video.
Okay, so food for thought. I'm going to put in the chat this number. So 202-455-8888. That's the number. Oh, that was direct. Hold on. Let me just get it to everybody. How do I get it to everybody?
Washington, D.C. number.
Anyway, oh, here, to everybody. Let me just paste it in. So this number here, every call from Google for phone verification comes from that number, the 202-455-8888. So if you have a decently sophisticated IP phone system, you could call your phone vendor and say, if you get a number that comes in from that number, the 8888 number from Google, route it to my cell phone or my back line. And then all of a sudden it just rings, you pick it up, press the button, you verify it. So that might be a nice workaround if you could get your phone vendor to do that.
So we've discovered that works, and I also have our phone vendor associate different numbers with it. So it'll give me a one-off number. It'll ring to my office phone. I will verify it. I'll put it out on the web, but then we'll have it forward to the main number. So there's a bunch of tactics there, but yes, the Washington DC number, if you can have a phone pass through that goes through to your individual phone or your extension, that's the easiest way that I've found to do that. But it's a common problem with people with auto attendants and queues that it can't happen anymore. And for cost reasons, Google no longer sends postcards. And I've done a bunch of videos, and Don, I give you props. I've never had one be accepted, and I've done the whole thing, opening the key and going in and showing ownership, and it's just, I feel like it's just a fool's
It's
errand.
silly. We were walking around the building showing the signage.
Mm.
But the phone number thing's the best hack. We ended up putting a cell phone number in place of that and then just changed it once it was verified.
Yes, we've done similar. My staff was even taking videos of me taking the video outside to make fun of me. That was fun. I did get one successfully verified by video, but all the other profiles, we just rerouted the phone, and it was a lot easier that way for sure. So, okay, Louisa wants to know, should I increase PPC ads or paid per click ads?
It's a great question. We've had the same one. I'll defer to John. He seems to have more knowledge in
Still
that
part of
area.
our strategy, but I tend to weigh them less these days, and that may be the trend that goes forward. It's just a personal decision on our part. Like I really don't do a whole lot of those unless we're working with a vendor that we have a specific campaign, and maybe using geofencing, and if it's an integrated thing, maybe, but I'm not going out there on Google every day doing that.
Okay, we don't have any more questions. If anyone has any remaining questions, please go ahead and add them to the chat. So I'll give you guys another minute or so, at least for some final questions before we move on to our final thoughts here.
Yeah, I would just say Google, regarding Google Ads, they're very expensive. So just like you do SEO for your website, and then that's free, right? You just come up organically high. You don't have to pay for that. Next step is get your GEO, feed the AI engines, do that. That's just table stakes. You got to do that. And again, looking good and getting the right answers into patient's hand is just easy to do that. And then the next step is, if you want to spend more money on ads, I don't know, it just depends on the market and your competitors and how much they cost, but you could always look at that as a third option.
And then the fourth option would be paid social media placement, which hit or miss. We've put money into it, and I can see the metrics, and I can see Facebook will promise you 800,000 views, and in reality, you don't get that for your budget. So I tend to rank those less too.
I think the biggest bang for your buck is emphasizing your reviews, ensuring that you're responding to them, and kind of keeping your name out there electronically. So, though we still do pay-per-click ads as well, but we're also looking at kind of pulling back on that and placing more emphasis on our YouTube videos and things like that.
So there's a question that says the competition for LASIK surgeries in Miami is intense, is why I asked. You can audit your competitors. You can see what keywords they're using. You can see what their traffic is generally. There's a whole bunch of tools on the web that actually gives you intelligence on what your competitors are doing, and if they're using some of that. So you can kind of gain some information on what they're doing. And if you want to, counteract that, go for it. But there are definite ways to make informed choices about what your competitors are doing and what you should do.
Kelly, if it helps, we use Marketing 360, and they do a lot of that data analytics for us because we don't have the time to go and dig in for all that information. So there are companies that can kind of do that for you based on budget. I get highly competitive. We're in the same arena here.
And I've used services that will actually change the budget for which keywords on that day. So they will monitor the keywords, and they'll give you the most bang for your buck for that day. But I've just never had a whole lot of success with keywords. So, we tend to use them less.
Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming through. So Evan, I wanted, would you like to wrap us up here and kind of close our little seminar?
Yeah, sure. This is a great seminar. I think there's a lot of doubters with AI. I go back and forth with my son, and he's like, "Oh, it's new. It hallucinates. It's gonna be useless." Until he created an app on his phone in 45 minutes to measure um, uh, to him and his friends to give ratings to different IPA beers, um, and then he was able to publish it to the iPhone. So literally, it's an app that that has drop downs and select. You could rate and has graphs. Amazing. It took 45 minutes, right? So just stuff like that is just like way out there, and it's just the beginning. With AI, it's kind of like, let's see, I don't know who's old enough here, but like Windows 95, 98 Vista is like, whoa. And all of a sudden, and now I haven't restarted. I used to get the blue screen of death. Now I haven't restarted my computer in weeks, right? Totally stable, totally just part of, just like the internet is just part of our lives. I think AI is going to be part of our lives because it's that good and it's getting better and better at an accelerating pace. So we're just here to just get everyone prepared for that eventuality, and to an extent, it's already here, right? We did a survey. Well over 50% of patients are using AI search to get answers about their providers before they book appointments. So it's here to stay, and just embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. And I think 10 years from now, we're all going to just be part of our daily lives. Thanks,
Awesome.
Louisa. Appreciate your compliments. Thanks, Tom. If you have any questions, just at least from Raterate, just info@raterate.com. You could always, if you just think of a question, we'll be sure to get back to you and answer real quick. Thanks, Jenna, Yvonne, and John, and Emily for organizing this.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks to all who joined us.